this tweet start. Hey, look at that. It's happening. We are live on the SideQuest. Live. On a beautiful Thursday night, which is always fun.
Yeah.
It's a good time. I'm Dolly Demovsky. Right there. JJ Maidenless Holder. Oh, I like that. I gotta switch that up.
I'm changing it every week now. I'm done with the Twitter handle. I don't.
You weren't on it last week, on our episode last week, and which was also a 2-person episode. So this week I'm just kind of going through the teams.
Just some private one-on-one time with the staff.
This is exactly private call. Listen, this is your end of the year review. That would actually be kind of a fun angle for
just have like employee engagement meetings.
I fucking love that idea. And dude, that is okay. We're gonna have to do that. Maybe that'll be our beginning of the year podcast from now on. Will be employee engagement,
one-on-one podcasts.
I like that. That's
for the
good.
entire for the first 4 weeks. It's one with Zach, one with Taylor, one with me, one with Sam.
Yep. I love this idea. That's awesome. How you doing, JJ?
Oh, I'm doing great. As great as I can be.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's Thursday. I guess it's whatever. And there's not a whole, I mean, I don't even know where to begin with this.
With the news, I mean,
I guess there's not a lot of news.
There's not.
We can start.
We can always flip through an old gaming magazine again if we need to.
If we need to, we're gonna try to keep it under 2 hours for the actual gaming magazine part. Which is always cool.
Yeah,
it's always maybe it'll be the Super Mario 64 magazine that Nintendo won't let you put out. Oh man,
a bunch of fucking dweebs.
Yeah, they're like so hard up. So the news was Kotaku posted the follow up. So a couple weeks ago or so, whenever it was.
Yeah, was it Japanese? Or was Japanese strategy guide?
I think Japanese.
For Super Mario 64 sort of made its rounds again every few years or so. That guide makes its rounds, and it's the beautiful guide where they created the maps are like clay sculptures of the maps from Super Mario 64, and they're gorgeous. And so that's really why they're going around. Nobody's sending them around as like a strategy, like reselling the strategy guide. They just want to share this sort of lost art, like because remember, like Nintendo Power used to be very similar, where all of the covers were photographs. They weren't like drawn or screenshots or anything. The first issue was like the claymation Super Mario Brothers 2. And then
the final issue was as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, the final issue was
which I have too, actually.
Was it New Super Mario Brothers Wii, or was it Wii U?
Something
or was
like
it?
That.
It was one of them. It was one of the most recent ones redone in that style. And like the issues, like there's the Castlevania one that has like a real photo of like Simon holding the Dracula skull, or there was the Zelda one with like an actual Link, like they staged.
Yes,
which is a gorgeous cover. Yeah, there was a Star Tropics one with like a clay.
The Star Tropics was really good.
Clay parrot on it. And it was like that's what they used to do. And so it's the same thing for this strategy guide, where they was just like somebody spent a lot of fucking time on these, and I'm breaking up. There we go.
Oh no, I heard you.
Okay, I think.
Oh, your video is.
I think it's just my camera died. Oh yeah, it even says your camera was unplugged, which is
probably why.
Definitely not true. I am looking at it in the USB port now, so I feel like it just.
Maybe you just need to unplug it and plug it back in. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna show some of these magazines, by the way, while you're fiddling with that. There's that very first Nintendo Power issue. By the way, you know what's great? The covers are here, and you can actually find these full magazines online in places. They're all over the place.
I mean, like I have. There's the one I was talking about, right?
Yep.
There. All right,
the headless Dracula. I love that. I just got Dracula head.
Yeah, like I was saying. I'm so stupid.
Oh no! What happened?
Oh, I could have just clicked the camera button and it was going to work. Like I'm sitting here trying to figure out, like, did the driver stop? No, just click the button that says turn on the
Tech
camera.
support on a Thursday night.
I have the first 50 issues of Nintendo Power on this hard drive. If we decide we need to fill time, we can just randomly pull up an issue of Nintendo Power and thumb through it. But anyways, the moral of this story was Nintendo is pulling down like all of the references of that magazine scans, like on Twitter and everything, because Nintendo's got a Nintendo. Nintendo of America basically exists as more of a law firm than a company, like, because you got to remember, like Howard Lincoln, was Nintendo's attorney, like, so like this is a company that started as like Nintendo of America is basically a law firm, like, and that DNA survives today at Nintendo of America, which is like, you can complain a lot of things about Nintendo and sort of their view on the industry, but I think the worst part of Nintendo of America in particular is their sort of litigiousness for bullshit. So they just can't help themselves. The stupidest stuff they'll go after. And it's frustrating every time.
It's pretty wild. I mean, I'm looking at like all the images. There's a bunch of on eBay for like $200, and then there's like the $60 version, which is like strategy guide. So but they're pretty cool. The guide, I should say, because this guide had a bunch of just awesome artwork. I'm going to share the Kotaku screen here real quick so you guys can see. Check it, like they handmade a lot of these, like instead of just showing you a drawing or a scan, images, they did this full 3D diorama for a bunch of the stages. Look at that front. The front cover there is so badass.
Yeah.
This is a work of art. I would rebuy this. If Nintendo republished this, I would buy it. Like I would spend $20.
Or put it like Nintendo does a really bad job at putting out history stuff. Because like I really love getting like video game art books or like historical books and stuff. And like the Mario one that they put out a little while ago sucks.
Yeah, it does.
The Zelda stuff is pretty. I think like the Zelda stuff that they put out is genuinely pretty okay.
I think because Dark Horse like really puts their all into those, right? Is it Dark Horse that
it's Dark Horse. Yeah. It's very sad to see like Dark Horse used to be like an industry leader in comics, and now it's basically like video game art books.
Yeah, that's sad.
They lost the Star Wars license for comics, and they never fully recovered in the comic book industry. But look at that. That's cute.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is stuff that, Nintendo should, they should put it out, obviously, but they're...
If you look through old, like, newspaper ads and stuff in, like, the 70s and stuff, a lot of that stuff was, like, hand-drawn representations of things, which is really cool, because that's just how stuff worked. Like, it was kind of a pain in the ass, and I'm pretty sure whoever was in charge of the strategy guide, like, it's a pain in the ass to get screenshots in the 90s or even like the 80s. Like when we look through these old magazines, so many of them are just like off screen. Like they took their 35mm Fujifilm camera and had to snap a photo at, CES or E3 to get a screenshot for their magazine.
Yeah.
And, and I'm sure it was just as difficult in 1996. To get like a magazine filled with screenshots. So let's just hire an artist to painstakingly recreate the entirety of Super Mario 64 in clay, I guess.
It's so wild. It's so wild. Some poor dude had to do it.
Yeah.
But you see little details like the M for Mario, or maybe it's Wario, first one. But
L is real.
L is real. Nintendo doing very Nintendo things with that. But yeah, that's not the only news we have this week. There are little things here and there. I'm gonna hop on over to ye old SideQuesting.com, which is where I've posted a bunch of it. I probably should, do an agenda before the show.
We kind of we're just kind of winging this one.
Yeah, there are two that I want to do that directly relate to you. Okay. Okay.
In a good way or a bad way?
One is in a. They could both kind of be good ways, I guess. One is something that we absolutely have been saying was going to happen, and that's Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Delayed.
Did you see who's voicing King Shark in this game?
No, who is it?
Samoa Joe.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, King so Shark it's not Sly Stallone. That's awesome, actually.
Yeah.
Badass. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I am interested in this game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It definitely looked. I'll play the trailer here I'll turn off the volume while we're chatting here. This is the newer story trailer from before. This is so both of these games, they're not live service games, right? They were just like co-op. Like this one was a little more co-op, and I think the Gotham Knights was single player.
I think the Gotham Knights one is supposed to be the co-op one because each character is like because it's supposed to be like the Bat family. Like,
okay.
This one, as far as I'm concerned, I think they're just the same game from different studios, like just different angles. Like
maybe
like Gotham Knights just sort of seems like it's just more Arkham without Batman, and this one I really don't have a feel for yet. Like I see a bunch of shots from it, and I feel like this game probably could have benefited from being a little more focused.
Yeah, because I don't know I still don't know what the point is of the game. I know Kill the Justice League, but
it definitely. I'm assuming it's got to be like an Earth 2 situation.
Sure, but is it like a shoot? I mean, is it a full on shooter? Are you taking on
based on
swarms of enemies or
Yeah, I feel like this game in particular would have really benefited from just like, I think because like that's clearly supposed to represent what gameplay is going to look like.
Yeah,
that Harley Quinn's swinging around and stuff. So I think this one's going to be way more like high paced action as opposed to Gotham Knights, which will probably be more like the Arkham games, which are action packed but slower paced because Batman doesn't move particularly fast, and I feel like it'll be the same thing with that one. This one probably, if this game was coming out, if this game was coming out a year later, which it is now, it probably would have taken more cues from the Guardians game.
Yeah, maybe. I think you're right.
Because I think just focus on Harley Quinn and just have it be like that, where where the Guardians game is you as Star-Lord and the rest of the crew is just helping you, and you're working together, even though you're kind of antagonistic with one another. You really are trying for the better, and I feel like this probably would have benefited from being the same thing.
What's also kind of interesting is I look at that and I think, hey, which of those characters is going to get swapped out for
Peacemaker?
Peacemaker, baby.
It's
Captain Boomerang.
If I'm 100% certain if they could do it all over again, Captain Boomerang would be Peacemaker right now.
Yeah.
Like if they could just if this wasn't very deep into development, it would be Peacemaker instantly.
And there may be because they missed out on getting the game out when the movie was out last year, right? They missed out on getting the game out when Peacemaker was out.
Yep.
When it debuted.
All of these games are missing out on crossover stuff because, like, the Gotham game is missing out on the Batman movie coming out. Like, it's just like.
I mean, imagine a skin. You could have a skin or a Batmobile or whatever characters. But I do think that this is going to get. Oh my God! Holy shit! It's Sam.
What's up, fellow gamers?
Hey. What's up, gamer? He heard we're going to be talking about Gran Turismo, and he said, I'm hopping on there.
No, it was more of, I thought we did this on Fridays now. So I got home and I saw the, hey, everyone, message in the Discord. And I went, oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, we can still do it on Fridays. I just figured let's do one tonight. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a prior engagement tomorrow, which means I can't. You guys are more than welcome to do these shows on your own. They're definitely smoother when I'm not on it. We're just talking about how this game is getting delayed. Kill the Justice League, the Suicide Squad game, and I'm gonna tell you they're gonna have either some type of DLC that has Peacemaker, or a Peacemaker character is gonna come out like within a couple months after the release of this game.
Oh yeah.
I think they'll have like some type of quest says now coming Peacemaker in this is supposed to be spring 2023. They said this is arriving.
Yeah.
So
wow, a whole year is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That tells me this game isn't anything right now.
Yeah. Yep. Well, the other bit of news that a game that is coming out before I gotta unshare and then share. That's coming out before that, but was just announced, but is also sort of this geek cred thing is a brand new Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed co-op game.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna need a couple more people to help me do ghosts.
So it's 4v1.
Yeah.
Where I mean it's Illfonic and they did
Friday the 13th and Predator Hunting Grounds. Poor Friday the 13th really got fucked. Through no fault of their own. It's a really fun, competent little version of a 4v1 game that just got fucked by a legal battle they have nothing to do with.
Yep.
And Predator Hunting Grounds is a good game, but it doesn't have any
soul. Doesn't really have a soul.
Yeah, the thing about Predator is that they've done precisely one half decent Predator thing in the history of the franchise, and that's the original movie.
That's it, right?
Even the original movie is just it's more just machismo cool than being actually good. So I mean, I love Predator. I love the design of Predators. So that stuff's cool. But Ghostbusters is a thing that lends itself really well to team up as a 4-player team to fight a big bad guy. That makes a lot of sense in terms of everything. And it seems to be tying in a little bit to the recent movie, because it has old Winston sort of in control of everything, which is sort of how the post credits of Afterlife sort of set up things, was Winston sort of taking over Ghostbusters as the businessman, as the money behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really looks like Winston is franchising out the Ghostbusters.
Looks like it. I mean, that was sort of, you're part of that post-credit scene. You're right.
Yeah. So it does seem to be tied in, canonically, with Ghostbusters. I hope they need to bring the rookie back from the original game, have him be a default setting in the create a character or something.
Make it canon. Make it canon.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm all for it. There's been I mean, the last couple of Ghostbusters games have been real fucking bummers. So
you ain't late, Playland. Welcome. You're just on time.
Yeah,
they
late.
have been. Yeah.
The original, not the original, the licensed game from a handful of years ago was not great, but as a Ghostbusters fan, it's competent. I will say it is going to be involved in a panel, I would think, at some point in the near future.
Speaking of a panel, we'll quickly mention again. We were talking about it. I know Taylor and I talked about it last week.
Oh.
The 1 year Sam doesn't go to PAX East, we're gonna have yet another PAX East. Were you on the panel with us a couple 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever it was, Sam?
No, because we had the minor celebrities from Game Ranks on it, and they took my spot.
That's right. They booted you out. So, but Yeah, we have a couple panels. We had
Two.
the 7 is a better than a 10 panel, which is at 12:30, I believe, on or 4:30, 12:30 on that Friday. I'll try to get these streamed in some way or another, even if it's just my phone like hooked up to a stand or something. We'll figure it out.
They're very accommodating at PAX. They'll figure it out. We'll have to make sure to get like all of that stuff.
Definitely.
We'll have to get some slideshows made.
A slideshow. Yeah, that'll be starting up pretty soon. And then we have the big one at 4:30.
Yeah. The Wordle Royale at 4:30.
Yeah, which I got to make a logo for that. Yep.
Yeah, that's one of those things where it's going to be ridiculous to see how that shakes out in the end. Like, I'll be interested to see if we could, if we can trick enough people to show up to this thing with the word Wordle in the title.
Maybe. Yeah, let's hope.
And
I'd love for this to become a thing, because there's no PAX East in the past had the wrestling, the giant bomb wrestling stuff, which was awesome.
League of Heels.
The League of Heels that faded away.
Yeah,
that was a riot. But now we're gonna have maybe the Wordle Royale.
Yeah,
the new thing.
I don't know how much we want to talk about that one, since I do want to keep it relatively.
Yeah, we'll just say be ready. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Wordle. Yeah. People like Wordle. That's all we'll say. Hashtag, right? That's a hashtag Wordle.
Hashtag Wordle. We got some hot scoops, some hints, some tips and tricks.
Hints and tricks, and it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Hey, we also have one more little bit of news that there has been a sequel announced. Surprise, they're making another Witcher game.
I for one am shocked that they are not letting this multi-million-dollar franchise just rot away.
Same, likewise. No, it's the next game in the Witcher saga, which that's a lynx. That's not a wolf or anything else. So they're saying it's essentially, it could be a whole new Witcher school.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not even Geralt.
Yeah, some people are something. People are something.
People are something. Yeah.
People are something. People were speculating that it'll be like a Siri based game, which that makes a lot of sense from like their perspective. But I mean, come on, like, I don't like these kinds of announcements, because it's like, no shit. You just give me a picture saying we're making a new Witcher. Yeah, we kind of knew that. Like,
we know.
It's like, there's no teaser, there's no any. It's like, if you weren't making a new, it's like whenever they release a news story where it's like, Disney is considering making a new like comic book based movie, on like some obscure, like, The Wrecking Crew or some shit. It's like, I just assume at all times that every comic book character is under some sort of minor development as a movie at this stage. Like, you'd be stupid not to be considering everything. So it's like, yeah, of course they're making a new Witcher game. You didn't show me anything other than this logo. Like, duh.
Well, like, how early did they announce Cyberpunk? Like 2014, 2016?
2013, I believe it was. Yeah. Maybe even before then. Yeah.
Yeah. And it took them how long to get it out from there? And then cough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Still not out.
This just, I don't know. Is this just them like trying to drive at least a little focus away from the fact that like they still are fucking up Cyberpunk? Like, like it's still like it's in a playable state, but like nothing has been added or changed or anything.
Yeah, I think it's going to be counter programming from them going forward. Like they'll announce DLC or something for Cyberpunk, and people will be upset, and then you'll get to see like a screenshot of somebody's leg from this game or something like that, right? Or some other like little release, because I mean. As a whole, like CD Projekt Red got really dragged through the mud there for a little bit. So I mean, they're anything to counter program that and just remind people that, like, hey, you guys remember The Witcher, that Netflix series? Like, it's based on a book, but also this multi-million-dollar game series. So.
Whenever something like this happens, it always feels like, Jason Schreier must have an article coming out. It's like,
oh yeah, you're right. Oh, we're getting scooped. Or Jeff, no, it's not Jeff Grubb because they don't care what Jeff says. Jeff's just like, hey, fuck it, Dead Space 3 is coming next year, 2023. It's not making it this year. You won't hear anything.
Jeff Grubb just wants to tell us what all these studios are making that they don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
He that's all he's in it for. Schreier is really about just like John Wick out there, just trying to like double tap the heads of anyone out there who's just a shithead in the industry. So, yeah.
Yeah, Jeff Grubb will say, yeah, they're working on a new Witcher game, and it's probably coming out in 5 years. But then Jason Schreier's version is, hey, the new Witcher game is developed by the same people that did Cyberpunk 2077, and they're already talking about crunch.
I would say they're already in the middle of crunch.
They're already in the middle of crunch, and and it's going to have robots, and it's going to be backwards forward compatible or whatever.
Yeah. It's inspired by Horizon.
Inspired by Horizon. But it's
a match 3 game, actually.
It's a match 3 game.
It's Puzzle Quest, but with Witcher. It's good.
It's Witcher. Yeah. Other news, not really anything. I mean, it's GDC week. There's actually a bunch of announcements this week, and I haven't had a chance to really sift through them.
Parse through them and see. Like, there's been stuff. There's
a lot of stuff,
but like, it's how much of it is like, real like front page worthy.
right. I mean, we love indies. That's the best thing about PAX East, which is coming up, and so GDC is great. Taylor and I kind of talked about this last week. The industry shift towards awesome recognition and lifting up of indies to mass market. They're part of the state of plays, the Nintendo Directs. They're part of the Xbox, showcases. They may not necessarily carry the same cachet per se as like a Far Cry or whatever, but they sure as hell are treated in a lot of ways like as big as some of those games. And so they're on par from gameplay perspectives and innovation. You can't beat indies. I mean, they're further along than any AAA game does in the nation. So there's a lot of it this week. There'll be a lot of it at PAX East. We love reporting on it. We just haven't had a chance to go through it all and talk about the cool stuff, which I'm sure we will. You just go to SideQuesting.com. We'll be posting trailers and doing all kinds of other fun stuff on there.
Oh yeah.
But I do want to talk about the games we've been playing, and or whatever we're consuming, and we're gonna try to, as we've been kind of talking about this in the Discord a little bit in the podcast, we're gonna slow things down. We're not gonna do a bullet point. Here's all 15 games that I played, and here's like 25 minutes of each one. It's like, give us one thing. If it's a review that you have to put out, I don't know if any of us have any specific review things, but if it's the review, this would be a place to talk about it. Or if it's just something you're gaming, something you're watching, just keep it just as like chill. It's just a bunch of friends talking on a podcast. This is Sam's intervention. This is the year-end review, the employee review of.
This is that scene from Office Space. You got You got me and Dally side by side up here looking right at you, Sam.
Looking down at you, Sam.
So what exactly is it you would say that you
do? Well, hey, Sam, what exactly is it that you've been doing in terms of gaming or not?
So help me God if you just turn this into a Genshin Impact thing again.
No, actually, I haven't been playing a lot of Genshin recently. Not because I don't want to, but because I'm holding out for the update that comes out, I think, next Tuesday. So there will be plenty of Genshin talk later on. No, I've been mostly playing two things, which I think the two of you are also partaking in, and that would be Elden Ring. And Gran Turismo. So we'll start with Elden Ring, and I'm sure Elden Ring has been talked to death on this podcast.
No, it hasn't. Continue.
And honestly, I haven't been able to catch any of the episodes, so I don't know people's feelings on it.
I don't listen to the show, so
I haven't been on the SideQuest, so I don't even know.
I would like to start by saying that I really enjoy Elden Ring. I reviewed Mortal Shell for the website, and I'm into these style of games. But I would also like to start off to say that every time I play it, I have been getting seriously mad about anybody who said this game is accessible for anyone, or anything about like, oh, if you played Legend of Zelda, like give Elden Ring a try. Absolutely don't. Elden Ring is
first of all, it's so good that Taylor and Zach are not on this episode.
Yeah. They could have like fresh ears for their Elden Ring.
Continue. Yeah, Elden Ring is as accessible as like a MotoGP bike is to somebody who just got off of training wheels. Like it is not like it is not the same type of game as Zelda. Yes, you go around and yes, you find areas and that's cool. But when like that game is so like poorly designed for somebody that still is like it's their first Souls game. Now I think like there's a verbiage to it and a language that you can pick up and learn from playing the games. But even like switching items in your inventory while you're in the middle of a fight, like making sure you're hitting the right buttons to activate those weapons while you're in the middle of a fight, knowing what things do, where things go. For the love of God, you can skip the tutorial because you don't know that falling down a hole is an acceptable thing in Elden Ring. And again, I love these games. I have put like 30 some hours into Elden Ring so far, and I don't think I'm anywhere near beating it. I think it's really cool, but it is still not for everybody. What was it? There was that stat where like 58% of players haven't even tried to fight the opening boss yet, or something like that.
I haven't.
It's a game that people play a lot of and are going to bounce off of. And they might not see the end. And for some people, that's perfectly fine to play a game for 20 hours, get what you saw out of it, and never beat it. But there are going to be plenty of people that have bought this game, played it for 2 hours, and went, nah, and taken it back to GameStop already. So, I mean, I'm sure Elden Ring's been talked to death, and I'd love to hear those two guys' opinions on Elden Ring. Because there is certainly cool stuff, like finding the NPCs and like them just saying some like George R.R. Martin bullshit to you, and then handing you like this little whistle or the little bell that you can summon. I guess summons. I don't even know what they're called. The like spirits or whatever to come fight with you.
They're called White Walkers.
Yeah, meeting different NPCs and them giving you missions and stuff. It's cool. I really like the open world, and I have to praise it for the same type of stuff that Zelda does, which is very loosely, here's the general direction you want to go. And then how you get there or what you do in between point A and B is completely up to you. And for those returning Souls players that got frustrated with bosses, yes, you can go other places and do other things. But what happens when you have gotten through 10 different areas and you can't beat the boss at any 10 of those areas? So there's some stuff that I think is absolutely wild for the crowd that's saying like this game's accessible for everybody. But at the same time, like if the Souls games have been something that you've been interested in seeing, this is definitely the one to hop in on. And I definitely feel like there is a contingent amount of players that played Demon Souls at the launch of the PS5 because they saw how impressive it was. And totally hated that game, and all their friends are trying to convince them to play Elden Ring. And they're like, nah, I'm not falling for that shit again.
Dog. Yeah.
So there's that. Now Gran Turismo 7, which have either of you, I know JJ has at least played a little bit of it.
I haven't yet.
I am deep into the Gran Turismo 7.
So unfortunately, I haven't had too much time to play. Because I've been making the commitment that I will be playing no amount of Gran Turismo 7 that is not with a steering wheel. That is my task, to play through the entirety of my experience with GT7 with the steering wheel. And I can tell you that it's been going good. GT7 has a lot of options for learning tracks and learning like how to get better with your cars. I'm never one that really likes to see like where the, hit the brakes here and, turn in here. Like, I don't like those driving lines, but Gran Turismo has a very nice feature of it will show you like, this is the turn in point. This is the apex of the turn.
Yeah.
So if you have like some grasp on how racing works, like you can kind of know gas and throttle yourself, but you still have to find your own braking points in cars. You still have to shift correctly and stuff like that. And that's the other thing. This will be the first game that I fully play through with a manual transmission. Just because
nice.
I never liked shifting with a controller. It always felt weird to me. But that wheel that I have has paddle shifters, which is also buck wild that one of the first cars they give you is an automatic hybrid car, and you're just in like D gear the whole time. And when you get to a turn in Gran Turismo, it tells you like what the recommended gear for you to be in is. And obviously you can turn that off too. And it's just a suggestion because, some cars you're better off in third gear than second gear through a turn. But it always bugs me because it's like it's flashing D. It's like I'm in D, but I'm going 100 miles per hour. I'm pretty sure it doesn't want that through the turn.
Yeah.
So it's been fun. One of the things that I criticize Forza Horizon for, and they fixed it a little bit in 5, is that it doesn't lock down the cars that you can use per the event. So you can roll up to any event and basically set like what type of car you want to race in.
Sure.
And there are some tracks that are better than others for that type of stuff. In Gran Turismo, it does basically the complete opposite, where you are choosing, what course you're going into, and it locks down like, this has to be this specific style of car. It has to be this manufacturer. It's got to be, this power rating, this PP rating, stuff like that. So it does a much better job of doing that type of stuff. But then counter to that, unless you're making like single player races that I'm not sure really give you credits, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yep.
You're kind of stuck just like with the options that you've unlocked. And there's not a whole lot of unlocks that you have right at the beginning of the game. So you basically have to play all of these guided structures or go into like the course learner and like try to use the type of card that they have. Except for as you're in the beginning of the series and you're driving like hot hatches, the course learner is giving you like a Toyota prototype car and is like, learn the track. And it is a completely different driving style with those type of cars than it is with like your mom's Honda Civic, which they give you to race in. So I like it for that and also dislike it for that. And the other thing is the sort of progression system that you go through. So you can like go on these missions that they give you at some point. They do have, like as you unlock tracks, you can learn the tracks segment by segment and then do an overall segment, and same type of bronze, gold, silver series of unlocks, and cars are tied behind that and stuff. And then of course your licenses. That
tried and true, everyone's favorite thing about Gran Turismo, the license test,
which is much easier. I won't say much easier. It's much better in a game like this because the PS5 is very quick at restarting.
That's
stuff.
The advantage. I was explaining that I think when I was talking about the game a couple of weeks ago when it was when I was just really getting into it. The SSD is all the difference maker in this because there is zero wait time when you fuck something up. It is shit, start. Like if you did that
crap.
If you did that in one of the original Gran Turismos, it's like, well, I have to go through the whole loading procedure again. So it hurt when you failed. It doesn't hurt as much anymore.
Yeah. So it streamlines the process, but the main way that you progress and unlock cars is through that those menu books. And it does a pretty good job of setting you up. But very quickly, if you're running on the game anything other than like normal or easy, very quickly does it assume that you know how to tune cars. And that you like have to like do that to even get into the top 3 that you're looking to finish. And the difficulty with some of that stuff is you'll be driving hard difficulty. You'll need to get into 3rd to, move on or whatever, but you'll start back in 15th. Yeah. So now you're like, you might as well set the game to normal or easy because you get the same amount of credits no matter what the difficulty is, but then it's not pushing you to learn. You're just kind of automatically always passing people. And stuff like that. Then it gets to the credits, which are basically a mockery. And I haven't even played during the like new update, which apparently even nerfed credits further.
Yeah, it's worse than it has been.
So you're talking about like even your most basic cars costing like 50,000. And for most, you get like 32 from a win on like some long tracks. And adding insult to injury is some of the luxury cars, like some of the nicer racing cars that you would want to buy, are all locked behind like luxury brand manufacturers that you might not even get access to purchase. They give you these tickets and it's like, hey, dumbass, you got 48 hours to buy this Ferrari. And if you don't get this opportunity to buy this Ferrari again. I'm sure you do at some point, but like it basically pushes you to get microtransactions, which is scummy as all get out. Then to make matters worse, half the reason that people buy racing games is so that they can play online and race against other people. So far, at least in my experiences, and maybe this week or next week, they're going to upload one of these, but you're competing with the collection of cars that you have. So if you don't have a car that really fits that standard that week, well, I guess you're not playing in the sports mode. And you have to go to the generic multiplayer, which doesn't give as much rewards. And you still don't really get to pick what you're racing. And even if you do have the correct car, well, I hope you spend a bunch of money to tune it because the people in your lobby have, and they will just automatically outpace you. And they can just microtransaction their way to all the good cars if they want to. So it's got growing pains. And I know in GT Sport, they occasionally did spec races where everybody got the same car. And then it was up to you to tune it, not buy new parts for it or anything like that, but just tune gear ratios and stuff like that, set a hot lap and then go at it. But it's like really deflating when you're running the default car and you're getting like a qualifying time that you think is really good. And then you're queued into a match, which takes like 20 minutes to get into one. Then you find out that you're ninth. And the only reason you're ninth is because the like 6 people behind you didn't bother actually putting in qualifying laps. And then you just get smoked. And it's very frustrating. And I know the get good haha crowd out there, but I play other games other than Gran Turismo. And you know, I don't want to play in like 80-hour campaign to maybe be decent at multiplayer. So it's kind of frustrating.
See, like for me, like when it comes to this, for like the Gran Turismo bullshit, because it's just kind of what these games...
GT bullshit.
Like, you know, I started with an advantage because I got the Steelbook edition of this game, which came with 1.5 million credits out the gate and just a collection of high-end cars. So my garage kind of got a boost early on, so I didn't have to start with, you know, a Honda, you know, that little electric car or anything. Like I had really good cars out the gate, so I kind of got the running start. I haven't paid any money on microtransactions yet, but like I love cars, always have, and I like understand cars, and I've been playing this franchise since day one. So the tinkering with the cars and running test laps and stuff with the cars, and like I don't like the way that felt into like this corner and whatever, and like going back in and changing the ratios and like the you know, the shift durations and stuff and things like that. Like I love that stuff and I love doing that stuff, but it's really asking a lot of people that aren't like committed to the Gran Turismo bullshit, because Sam's right. When you're playing certain modes, especially in the higher difficulties, if you don't know what, like when you look at that screen, there's a lot of car words in there that aren't going to mean anything to a shit ton of people. So like you're not.
This is the Elden Ring of racing games.
Of racing games. So like you're just looking at things and it's like, well, what's the camber gonna do? Like, so you're just like fucking around with numbers, and then you get out to the track, and then they're like, oh shit, and you know, next thing you know,
and that's the other thing too, is like you can make changes, and your car's like PP rating again, will go up, and you're like, oh, I must have like done something good here, but then you go in that specific track, like you've tuned it completely incorrectly for how that track would be. And as far as I know, right now, there's no way to download tunings. Like, I can't just have, like, you know, I mean, you could go on YouTube and find your favorite, like, Twitch streamer or whatever and, you know, copy their tuning for the car. But even so, like, that doesn't mean that tuning will equal up to the way that you drive the car.
And some of the tuning stuff is locked behind buying parts. Like, if you want to change your suspension, you have to spend money in game on your specific car that you want to adjust the suspension on with a fully customizable suspension system and you have to unlock the tiers. Like, it starts with basic and you have to like work your way up to extreme, like as your car collection grows and stuff. So like if you want dirt tires, you have to grind through and get your car collection up to like a certain point. So like it'll let you, you know, let you get racing slicks now or whatever. It's some crazy shit.
It's interesting because I grew up on Gran Turismo before I grew up on Forza. And I hate to say grow up, but I've been playing Gran Turismo far longer than I've been playing Forza.
Gran Turismo 1 came out on my birthday.
There you go.
And it was like that was my birthday present. I went to Toys R Us, pulled the ticket out of the little sleeve, and for Gran Turismo 1.
Well, I was gonna say it's from the car side, because I'm fully vested in car culture in the development of vehicles.
Yeah.
This is Gran Turismo, the series, far pushes past the Forza series within the automotive industry. And what I mean by that is if you're into racing cars, like real life car races, you're going to play GT. If you're into tinkering with your car at home, you're going to be into GT. If you're into just the video game aspect, you're probably going to go with like Forza Motorsport or Forza Horizon. But the Gran Turismo, part of the fun, I should say, is that it is so knee deep in its own bullshit. But the tinkering of a car, like you said, going around a track hundreds of times maybe just to make sure that you have your adjustments perfect how you want them. And a car person will do that. They will treat each of these cars as their own, as like individual avatars, because they're gonna go in, they're gonna adjust the hell out of each of these, tune them perfectly so that they know exactly which one to go with on each course, on each track, at each time of day, and each weather, and how they want to show it off, how they want to take off photos. Like, this is genuinely that kind of game. Which is not for everybody.
In Forza, especially Forza Horizon, you can get away with just getting like a car, and sort of it being your baby, and like it may not be the best for everything, but you're going to be able to win any race with like your good car. And the game scales too in Forza to like what your car is in a lot of ways. Especially Horizon, not so much Motorsport, because Motorsport's trying to sort of be Gran Turismo in its way. Horizon, it's in general, but Gran Turismo doesn't afford you that in any way. You have to have a garage full of every type of car.
You do.
You need you need one from every country. You need one of every drivetrain, and you need one of every sort of like class. Like, you need one that's like, you know, sub 300s. You need ones that are like, you know, the 660p. They've changed it. The PP thing is a relatively new thing. But for Gran Turismo, but because it used to just base it off of horsepower. Like, it has to be below this horsepower or something, which used to sort of exploit it. And you know, you could just be like, well, like, you can use a race car and just kind of drop it down to that. But now you can't do that anymore, because your race car by default is going to be it. But Gran Turismo 7 has a lot of growing. It's like Gran Turismo Sport. Started off like shit and kind of became a really fun, competent game by the end of its sort of lifespan. And I feel like Gran Turismo 7 is... I'm not going to defend the grind that they've changed for the credits. It's disgusting. It doesn't affect the way I personally play the game too much right now, especially since I got the head start with the bullshit. But it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And they should be ashamed of what they've done.
I think, because obviously I'm having fun with it and I'm going to continue playing it. It is a bummer that online, you know, is kind of inaccessible to me at the level that I'm at right now. But I mean, the nice thing about it is that, you know, the game, as you mentioned, Ali, the game is about like the car culture and like learning that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I wish it kind of held your hand a little bit more with tuning.
Yep.
And figuring that stuff out, because that is like the nitty gritty of it.
There's no tutorial for it, really.
Yeah,
like everything has a tutorial.
Basically, yeah.
Everything has a tutorial, but tuning, because that's very hard.
Just watch this video.
Yeah, it's very hard to teach somebody what that means, and a lot of like without it being like a course, like you like to become to fully understand, you either need to be ASE certified or like or just like understand cars and
like even as terms of a driving, like I can tell you that my car is understeering or oversteering in and out of a corner, but if I don't know the correct terms of, you know, what I'm looking for in the settings to tune that, then I'm just kind of like, I mean, look at that. It's like a menu. That menu means nothing to like anybody that doesn't understand like even half of that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's the air filter ratios or whatever. Like what? Like
the exhaust manifold. Do you know which exhaust manifold to use? How much?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you know, it's one of those where I wish it was a little bit handholdy with some of that stuff. I wish it didn't make you so dependent on that for success in some avenues, but I totally understand it. You know, it is that game that, like, you know, if before you hop into iRacing or something that stuff is required to, like, GT is definitely the more user-friendly version of all of that stuff.
Slightly.
Not by a whole lot, but it has a better user interface for that.
High school textbook instead of a master's degree, doctorate
instead of the master's degree. All right. So JJ, have you been playing anything else, or is just kind of those from your standpoint?
Yeah, the other stuff I really don't like. I'm gonna wait for Zach to come back so me and him can gloat about.
All right.
Strangers of Paradise.
It'd be a good conversation.
And I've been playing WWE 2K22, which is okay. But I figured I could talk about comic books instead. Yeah, it's fine. It's not a broken mess.
All right.
Like it was.
Well, from gaming standpoint, it's been just a crazy week for work, trying to catch up on a bunch of other stuff. So I have been pulling a lot of late nights, which means I'm not in front of my main big gaming devices. I've just been on my either my Switch or my phone. And so I mentioned the Steam Deck. I'm not in front of the Steam Deck because it does take a lot of time to set up and get stuff running. The Switch is just like it's on and it goes. Yeah. And I've talked the Steam Deck to death. I won't get in it anymore. But I'm still plugging through Triangle Strategy. It is they put the demo out, and it's still out there, which is like the first 3 chapters of the game, which are it. So that demo is the wrong thing to put out there. The same with the Kirby demo, the wrong thing to put out there. Kirby demo is essentially the first few stages of the game, which are not super exciting. They're cute, but not exciting.
Yeah.
And so Zach even mentioned, it kind of turned him off. He's like, oh, there's the same Kirby bullshit. It's just in slightly, it's just in the 3D now. Whereas everything I've read about from a review standpoint is like, oh, it's that, but it's a lot more. It's that demo is just kind of poorly executed. And the same with Project Triangle Strategy is that the demo is like the first 3 chapters. And man, those first 3 chapters there's hardly any battles that take place in those first 3 chapters. You're literally, I think there's like 1 chapter per battle. It's a slog, and it's like a few hours worth of a slog to get through that section. But once you do, and I mentioned this to Taylor, the game does pick up, and I am really kind of enjoying it. It's I've kind of bounced back and forth between it being Final Fantasy Tactics or that side or the Tactics Advanced side. It's got a little bit of like Fire Emblem thrown in there in terms of some stuff, which is kind of cool. So it's a healthy mix of all 3 of those genres, of all 3 of those series. Obviously, way more Final Fantasy Tactics influenced, but a good mix. And and I'm enjoying it. It's a 7 out of 10, which is that level of game, which to me is like I'll get through this. I know exactly what I bought this for, and I'm gonna enjoy it. And still not in love with the graphics in this one, like the visual aesthetics in this one. I think it definitely worked better in Octopath Traveler, but I think in a tactics game, it starts to look a little more dated than because you're hopping into isometric instead of something like Octopath, which is much more of a fixed viewpoint, which kind of really guides your eye to specific spots. I think with something that's isometric, it's a little more difficult, and it lets you rotate the camera. It's a little more difficult to get any certain things to stand out and add some like cool atmospheric effects. So that was one thing that Octopath Traveler really did nicely, was some really cool atmospheric effects and like bloom, lighting and a bunch of other stuff that you can't really do here because your character is moving across, a board. So, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. And then, like I said,
I will never play it. I just know. It's just...
Yeah, it's super repetitive, but that is what these games are. It's just the same battle over and over and over and over again. And that's why to me, it's like, it's fine.
It's just the map has different geography this time.
The map has different geometry, and there's different type of long range versus medium range weapons. So, whatever. It's fine.
Instead of talking about video games, because I don't have any, I can't talk about comic book stuff. That's what we feel like.
Tell me of a few comics that you're chugging along.
I will talk about a little more length of 3, but I will show you the ones that I got this week with my poll box. Nice. The 10 Deaths of Wolverine issue 5 came out. They've been running this ongoing storyline.
Oh wow!
It's alternating. There's 10 deaths. It's X deaths and X lives of Wolverine, and they're on issue 5 now of this. It's been kind of a fun story, especially it's Wolverine centric and all of his rogues gallery. It's fun. It'll be a good collective thing when you're doing. They put out a new Venom series, a new Lethal Protector series. Because there's a current because Lethal Protector was like one of his. Or that's what the Venom movies are based off of and everything. And this is sort of going back to that. It's early Eddie Brock stuff. This issue takes place several years ago. Sure. Kind of thing. So it's Eddie Brock Venom doing his Venom thing, being the Lethal Protector again. Saga is back, baby. And
baby.
The 3rd issue of The Return came out this week, and it's really this story has been like it's like season 2 of Saga, because the original one ended on like hell of a cliffhanger kind of thing. And since they've been back, it's sort of done a time jump, and there's some really fascinating stuff going on, and I'm very curious to see. It's still vague as to what exactly is happening and who some of these new characters are, but it's been really fun. I get Detective Comics every week, and it's just a good Batman story, or every other week. It's just good Batman stuff, and there's usually backup stories in it. This one has House of Gotham in like a secondary story in it, and I think of all of them, I think the Detective comics have been more enjoyable than just the Batman straight up. They alternate. It's like Batman, Detective Comics, Batman, Detective. I think these tend to be a little better because they tend to be a little less action-y based. They live up to their Detective Comics but these are the main ones. These are the big ones this week, I think, especially for me. First and foremost, Godzilla versus the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Hell yeah. That's a comic book ass comic book, baby.
This is why comic books exist, because Hollywood is a bunch of cowards, and they would never make this a reality. Rita creates a multiversal tear that's where she's going to take over an Earth that doesn't have the Power Rangers in it, and it just so happens that they end up on an Earth with Godzilla. It's like they teleport into the middle of a big Godzilla fight, and Jason is there, got teleported with him. So he gets this first issue has him getting in a battle with Godzilla in his Dragon Zord, and spoilers, Godzilla fucks him up. Like just treats him like he's nothing. Like does like a wrestling backbreaker on the dragon's sword. It's fucking sick. This is cool as hell. It's stupid. It's obnoxious, and it's exactly what you want when you read the title. Sweet. Godzilla versus the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So I am definitely going to be keeping this one going. There's a new Wolverine series that started this week called Patch. Because back in when Wolverine first started getting his normal weekly release stuff, that was sort of, he was in Madripoor under a secret identity of Patch. And so they're kind of going back to that sort of Wolverine as almost a James Bond-ish character, where he's just kind of in Madripoor dealing with like stuff, and there's a lot of like Asian influence in it, and he's like in the jungle, like taking down crime and shit. And this is written by Larry Hama, who's one of my favorite comic book writers. He's the guy that did all of the G.I. Joe stuff. If you think of when you think of anything you think of about 80s G.I. Joe is Larry Hama. He's done Wolverine in the past too. Like he did a lot of Patch stuff and stuff previously. So they got him back to do this. It's really fun, really good first issue. I'll be definitely checking this one out. And Scott Snyder has a new book, but it's not really a new book. It's the first physical release. It used to be a Comicology original, but Comicology sucks, and nobody really buys comics from Comicology, especially on a weekly basis. And Comicology's only gotten worse and worse under Amazon's ownership.
Yes, it has.
It's almost unusable at this stage. So this week, physically, they got Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's We Have Demons.
Ooh.
So this is Dark Horse. We were
just talking about Dark Horse
earlier. This is a 3-part thing. It just started this week, and it is very cool. It's very violent, but it is a story about like demons are real, the fall of man. You have like this daughter whose father was like a pastor that like he was like a clergyman who was like he led the he was the town's priest and everything, and he had like a second life that she didn't know anything about until he died, and she finds out that he was a demon hunter, and so now she's taking up the reins of it. And it's like because the demons are winning by the time you get to the story, so it's like this is our last ditch effort as humanity to fight back the demons, and it's really fucking cool. If you like horror or just sort of that sort of like it's like vaguely sort of like religious horror kind of stuff, because it's like demons and like God followers and things like that. But it's beautiful. It's got really good art. It's got a really good story. It already exists. Like you can read this whole thing now on Comicology, but this is the physical. It even has the Comicology originals thing on the back. But I think this is the best way to read comic books is in a I read comic books digitally, but I read back issues and stuff. I still think reading like focused, like reading books physically is still like the best way.
I love it. I still love it that way.
And so that's probably my top recommendation of the week. Is that one. I think that is if you can get to a comic book store, go pick it up. If you can't, you can just read the whole thing. It's 3 issues.
I love
it's
it.
Available now, and it's fantastic.
We're gonna need you to do this regularly. Just like here's like because you were doing the pull box stuff for a little while there.
Like boy, that's kind of stressful to have to read.
It is, yeah. It's just we can talk about it on the podcast once a month or something. I think that'd be cool. Yeah.
Maybe try to get some more comic like related content. Maybe get some people with wanting to supply some review copies of things. That works.
Hope you're listening. Stanley's Ghost. Are you listening?
Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. Good stuff. Well, that's gonna bring us to an end.
That's an hour, baby.
That's an hour. We did it. We're actually being a little more cognizant of our time. We're just kind of hanging out and chatting. It's good. I like it. Loose. It's good. And I actually have time to go watch the Halo series, which is pretty cool. That launched today. Yeah. There you go. You get 3 months of Marvel Unlimited with Game Pass.
Marvel Unlimited works now. Which is really good. That was always a major problem with being a Marvel Unlimited subscriber, is that you spent $100 a year or $10 a month for an app that didn't work. So you know, but now it actually sort of like I have had it's less intuitive of an app now.
True.
It used to be easier to just like find like stories, but they kind of like disguise them a little better these days. But it's still now's the time to jump in with your 3 months with Game Pass. Hit me up on Twitter at _double_J, and I can give you all the recommendations. I have an exhaustive knowledge of comic books, especially Marvel. I know a lot about wrestling and video games, but I know more about comic books. So
yeah, he sure does. Definitely. Well, you know where you can find him at the _.
That's what
at the _double_J. Wow.
That's what I set you up. That was a segue. I set you up.
That's right. You can find me there at Dolly Demovsky.
Yeah, you got it. Look at that.
You got it. I'm getting there. You can find Catman down there in the Discord once in a while, which is kind of cheesing on Ryan Gann and a few other folks. So that's always good. Sam's
Ryan
good to hear your great voice. Any of you? By the way, there's been a ton of games out there. We talked about Elden Ring. We talked about Gran Turismo, Pokemon, all that kind of stuff. There's still like a few more big releases popping up here over the next couple weeks. Are any of you, before we hang up, you guys looking forward to anything in particular? Like I'm getting Kirby tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not going to get Kirby tomorrow, but I'll definitely get Kirby soon, and I'm absolutely getting Ghostwire. So
cool.
Yeah, I'm on board for Kirby tomorrow. Ghostwire is definitely something that I'm interested in playing, but that's going to have to be on the delay shelf because Games Pass has really been kicking it into high gear recently.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah.
Young Souls was just added to Game Pass, and that's something my partner and I are going to try to play through because it's completely co-op. Formula 1 2021 was just added to Games Pass today. So I think
that's awesome. All right, I'm gonna play that now.
What I think I might be doing is throughout the 2022 season of Formula 1, all the tracks that we go to that are in that game, I think I'm going to try to like play alongside them. So like specifically for those weekends, and crank all the difficulty up to the most difficult that you can get in that, and see if I can managed to win that race.
Hang with the big boys.
I say that, and since it just came out, I'm going to start that this week, which I think the track layout is different from last year, but it's in that game, I believe. So, and of course, the cars are completely different too. So I'm going to give that a go. And then I feel like as you said, there's a bunch of stuff coming up, but like I'm blanking right now. I mean, I supposedly will be getting my Steam Deck email at the beginning of April here because I'm one of those lucky Q2s, and I'm hoping it goes a little bit smoother than it did for you there, Dally.
I had the issues, but it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this year is kind of packed with stuff.
It is.
And I feel like we don't even know half of it that's for sure coming out. Even that Harry Potter State of Play that I'm sure you guys talked about last week, feels like that holiday 2022 feels like super optimistic to me.
It really does, yeah.
So, hey, who knows? I feel like the games that we'll be talking about like in June, like you guys are going to PAX, what, end of April, middle of April?
Yep. 1 month. We'll be there 1 month.
That is going to be the next big talking point, right? We'll get the little trickle of news. We got some like mediocre releases coming up. Tiny Tina's Adventure or whatever is
that
tomorrow.
Comes out tomorrow.
Tiny Tina Adventures,
Star Wars. Was it the Lego Star Wars game that's coming out?
Yes,
I'm weirdly interested about that.
They're fun games, but like it is still just Lego Star Wars. Like they're gonna wring blood from this stone.
They need to go back to the style of cutscenes that they had in the Lord of the Rings game, where they just took the audio from the movies and then like reenacted the scenes, but in Lego. What is his name? Aragorn when he dies or whatever is super dramatic and he dies with a turkey.
I thought the games were way more funny when they were just pantomiming the scenes. Like that was like the early Lego Star Wars ones were really like they really nailed sort of the surreal comedy of Star Wars when it's the same scene, but we're just kind of pantomiming. No words are being said.
It's gonna be kind of a wild, I think, second half of the year because they're sort of clearing things up. We were gonna get what was that Battle Advanced? What is it? The Switch game.
Advance Wars?
Advance Wars, thank you. Battle Advance. I was thinking whatever.
Battletech?
That was Battletech. That was going to be at the beginning of April. Obviously, they're pushing it back to later. And then I think,
wonder when that's going to like. They didn't say when they're going to re-release it.
They didn't. I'm going to assume now it's probably like August or September. Yeah.
Honestly, if they can just slow down releases, I got still a list from last year. I still need to play Solar Ash. I still need to play Deathloop. Still need to play Rise of Arcadia, or not Rise of Arcadia, Tales of Arise.
Tales of Arise, yeah.
I just started Half-Life Alex.
It's funny because like when 2020 took a shit, I was able to catch up on a bunch of games that I finally finished Breath of the Wild, finally finished God of War 2018. I thought, holy shit, what did I miss by not having time to play any of those games? Now I had plenty of time to play these games, and it was fantastic. And now it's like the floodgates open for like the last 5 months, and everything just poured out, which has been crazy. But we'll get into that as more games released. We're gonna have a lot of fun stuff to talk about over the next few weeks here, and then PAX and all that good stuff. But I'm gonna let you gents go. Thank you guys for hopping on tonight. Thank you to our viewers and listeners as usual. SideQuesting.com, SideQuesting TV on YouTube and Twitch. Please, if you haven't subscribed to us on one of your favorite podcasting things, if you don't listen to podcasts, that's fine. Still subscribe to us anyways, because on a few of them, I've subscribed to us on like a few different podcast things just to let our numbers get up a little bit. I'm not telling you.
It's like how every year on the Spotify Unwrapped, my favorite podcast, Disney Compendium,
suddenly pops up. It's amazing. But yeah, definitely, and spread the word because that totally helps. And we're gonna keep having fun and keep staying loose and do some more giveaways and slowly putting an agenda together. I think when we hang out at PAX, we'll spend a little bit of time developing a little bit more of an agenda for the podcast, and I think it'll be kind of fun. But yeah, other than that, we'll see y'all on the next episode of the Side Quest. I used the wrong hand. Shit. Okay, hold on. There we go. I'm right-handed, so I have to hit the end broadcast button with. Sam's waving. You just can't tell.
Yeah.